Hi, this is Ken Gosnell with CEO Experience, and today at our CEO conversation, I'm delighted to welcome Jason Milbrandt. Jason has quite an extensive background in dealing with business owners in a variety of different settings, from banking to franchise development to executive coaching and from sales and marketing and growing their business. So, Jason, thanks for being on the CEO conversation today.
Thank you, Ken. It's a pleasure being here. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, I'm excited to have you. I do consider you not only a great CEO and business owner, but a personal friend. So I'm delighted to always have a chance to sit down with a friend together. Hey, Jason. Like I mentioned in the introduction, you have quite an extensive background. You've been around the business field for a long time in a lot of different areas. What would you say is one of the most significant things that you've learned as you've worked with business owners in those variety of different settings?
Yeah, Ken. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I do have a pretty diverse background. I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran. I did commercial accounting in the Air Force. Actually, Ken, I signed up my junior year of high school
Wow.
to go into the Air Force, and the bonus for doing that was I got to pick my job and I got to pick where I was going to be my duty station. So I chose commercial accounting and I chose Colorado Springs. I'm originally from Northeast Pennsylvania here
Yeah.
in Schuylkill County, and so I wanted to get out and see a little bit of the U.S. And so I did that, and yeah, it was just a great experience. It really it taught me a lot about dealing with all kinds of different people. And I think in business, we have to really focus in on that. We have to make sure that we're identifying who our best customers are, who our best employees are, how best we service them, how best we put them in the place for success, and really defining what success looks like in each individual role. Whether you're a solopreneur, you have 500 employees, you really want to take the time to make sure that you're understanding your people and making sure that they're delivering that they're delivering that promise that you have from your mission, values, and goals to your customers and clients every day.
Well, I appreciate. Hey, thank you for your service, and boy,
Yeah.
I love that perspective of trying to put people in the right positions to excel. And I think we're seeing a lot of where that hasn't happened today in our culture with the Great Resignation, or some people are terming it the Great Reorganization, with so many people leaving the workforce. I just saw a study today where the workforce is down about 5 million men are not in the workforce where they used to be in the workforce. I know you have a real heart for teams and helping CEOs and business owners develop their team. That's one of the things that you're working really effectively with the CEOs around the Philadelphia region where you're located. Can you tell me more about? I know that that came from your military background. You saw the value of teams, but how have you found really critical for a CEO or a business owner to develop their team, or what would be one piece of advice that you might give to business owners as they think about equipping and training their teams?
Yeah, Ken, no, thank you for that. Yeah, I think that, there really is nothing new under the sun, right? So this is all things that you've heard, all things that you've been doing, all things that you were told to do, whether you went to business school or you read a book a month about how to be a great leader. For me, it's really about identifying those needs and finding the right person for the right
Mm,
spot. To your point, when I was in the Air Force, I was, we had squad leaders, and I was elevated to that role, and it wasn't about me, it was about how the whole squad was doing. So we had 12 folks that were right behind me, and if one of their laces were loose or their shoes weren't shined or they were out of line, they'd come back to me. And much like a CEO, we hold the ultimate responsibility for our team and their actions. So setting them up for success, making sure that we meet them right where they're at. And for me, a lot of times, Ken, it's really about finding out their purpose and matching them with an opportunity that best serves you as a company. And foundationally, when you know your mission and you know what you want to deliver to the marketplace, and you know how you want to work with your employees and your customers and your vendors, everyone that you come in contact with every day, when you have that defined, then it's really easy to kind of go back to it and say, hey, here's why we do that.
mm,
And a lot of times, Ken, that's the missing piece, is that communication. again, something so simple, but by communicating what that mission looks like, what is very important to you, how we want to treat our customers, our vendors, other employees, it just goes a long way in really developing your team and having them reach their ultimate purpose as well.
Right. Well, that's easy to say. Sometimes it's really hard to do, right? One of the things that we talk about at CEO Experience is that mantra that we have, that when the leader is clear, everybody and everything in the organization is clear. But sometimes it's hard for the leader to get that clarity. So, vision and mission is sometimes easy to say, but it takes a lot of effort and work to really find a good mission and a good vision and good values that are driving kind of the decision. So I appreciate that. You're exactly right. And now I've added to my notes. I'm going to have to challenge. I've missed it these some probably for the last 2 decades. I've never had the CEO on their job task is checking to see if their employees' shoes are tied. But now I've just added that to the
You
list.
don't want to be tripping, right? It's a safety piece too, as well, right? You have to do that. And yeah, can go back to the mission piece. One of the things that when I'm working with the CEOs, that's one of the first things that we talk about is foundationally, do you have that mission down? And not so much do you have it written down, but are you living it? So when you walk into someone's business, when you walk into someone's office, how do you feel? And that's really what people remember. And when you can clearly communicate, to your point, the mission and the vision, but then it's actually being utilized every single day, and the community knows what you stand for, it just really goes a long way.
Oh, that's right. And that's, again, where we even see faith tied in, because I find that when I deal with business owners, sometimes they're trying to come up with some great business vision for their business, but God's already given them the vision for their business. He's already communicated He wants to be a part of that vision, and He just wants them to release that to Him, and they need to be, fully walking in obedience to Him. So when they come into alignment with His vision and what He's called, then all of a sudden they're really released to accomplish more. But I love that you've got to be living that vision. So I think that's so critical, and I'm glad to hear that that's one of the first things that you sit down and talk to a business owner about. Hey, I know, Jason, one of the things I appreciate about you is obviously you're a great leader. You have a great concern and care for the CEOs and business owners that you consult with and that you work with. You're also very humble, and you're also very authentic and real. And I know that you've had some difficulties or setbacks in your life, not unlike probably many business owners and business leaders. They face difficulties and hardships at times. Can you give us a little insight on how did you deal with some of the difficulties that you've had to overcome, or some of the setbacks? What can you say to encourage maybe a business owner that's going through a difficult time?
Yeah, Ken. No, it is. It's there's a lot of that happening, and during COVID and during all kinds of different changes, there's all sorts of different things that kind of come at us. And as a business owner and a business leader, a lot of times it's lonely there, because you're the one making all the decisions, and you're wondering, am I making the right decision? And we really lean into surrounding yourself with a great group of men or other business owners and business leaders that really have that faith component to how they want to run their business. And by sharing those thoughts, and I always say to our groups that I'm involved with, whether you have 400 employees or 4 employees, you have the same issues and the same concerns. You just might have 10 times or 20 times more if you have more employees, or you have more stores, or you have more volume and things like that. But yeah, as far as the piece that you mentioned, as far as really kind of going through something, and I think that's the big part of it, is you're going to go through it. And this morning, another group that I lead is called Believers in Business, and we were in Luke this morning, and we're working through it. This is Holy Week as we're taping this, and there was things that Jesus had to go through to get to Sunday and the resurrection, right? So there's things that he had to go through there. He's just the all the steps along the way. He filled his purpose, and everybody from Judas to Peter to everyone had a purpose that was part of that story, and it all had to take place to get to Sunday. And we really focus on that. We talk a lot about knowing the end from the beginning, and where do we want to grow to. Again, I mentioned before, we meet you right where you're at, and then we just kind of build from there. So it doesn't matter if you're way down the road or you're just starting something or you're thinking about a new line of business. We're going to take it from there, and then we're going to go. A lot of times what business owners do, and much like anyone else, we see something, we see that shiny object, we see our neighbor with a brand new car and they're getting their landscaping redone, or they're getting a pool put in, or whatever it might be. And, we want that. Same thing as a business owner. We look to those things and we say, boy, this guy really has everything done. And this business really is mature. And I really like to be that business. Another thing we always talk about in our groups is that, we're seeing the finished product. And I'm a big food guy. So I say, well, you see the cake when it's done, but you forget about all the flour that's all over the place and all the eggs that have been cracked and everything that's just kind of floating around. And you just see the cake. And, and that's where you want to get to. But there's going to take a couple times where you might burn the bottom, or you might not get the icing right, or whatever it might be. And we're going to work through that and get you to where you need to get to. But yeah, it's really about creating that vision, creating those steps along the way to get there, and setting the right expectation. Things don't happen overnight and they don't get fixed overnight, but we'll work towards those things.
Wow, that's so insightful, Jason. Man, I appreciate it. I love the idea of remembering that Jesus had to go through a difficult season before he got to the resurrection, right? And sometimes I think we look at failures or setbacks or difficulties, and we forget that there is a bigger purpose in it, that God is working through that difficulty to bring about something beautiful that we could have probably never received or understood or appreciated had we not gone through that difficult time. So, obviously it's hard when we go through those moments, but just having that vision, that inspiration that there was one that went through difficult times, and they can understand us when we go through those difficult moments, man, that can be quite inspirational. So that's excellent. Hey, you mentioned you've been doing this faith in the marketplace and helping business leaders think about their business as mission for a long time, and you do that through a couple different mechanisms or tools or resources that you have. One of those is CEO Experience, which I appreciate you leading CEO retreats and helping business owners on that. But obviously your faith was real important to you. Can you talk a little bit about how you've seen your maybe your relationship with God and how it's developed or improved because you've brought God into your business world as well, and why you encourage other Christian business owners or business owners to think about their faith as part of their the DNA of who they are?
Yeah, Cam, no, I love that. I love that concept. And I've been in corporate America for a long time. So when I got out of the Air Force, I owned my own restaurant. So I was an entrepreneur there. And I always say, that guy probably today I wouldn't buy another restaurant. It was just, open to close every single day and a lot of work. But it really kind of built that foundation of really understanding what it takes to run a business. And then working in the corporate world, I ran a commercial bank for PNC Bank and Bank of America. And you were kind of hamstrung a little bit with bringing your faith to work. You could say all the aspirational things, but they really didn't want you to have a Bible on your desk, or they really didn't want you to be praying in your office before your meetings or whatever it might be. That sometimes for me, I bring my whole self, whether I'm at the bank or whether I'm at the restaurant or whether I'm at CEO Experience. And part of that self is my relationship with Jesus. And for me now, working with Christian business owners and Christian leaders, and really developing that better understanding of how they can bring faith into their business. And it's not just a small snack on a Sunday morning that you're doing. It's that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that you're bringing him along with you. And for me, that piece of faith and just the understanding that, and whether it's first fruits in the morning, as far as jumping into the Bible and just grabbing some quick verses, or whether it's 10 minutes or an hour, it's really kind of giving that time up and really getting into the word and putting that breastplate on and going out there and getting another day in. Um, for me, it really does. Now the lines aren't crossed. There, it's all business and it's all mission and it's all bringing that word uh, to our daily business. And one of the things that we always talk about it in our groups is allowing us to shine his light as we're going out and we're dealing with our vendors, our employees, the folks that we come in contact with every day. And another thing we talk about is if you feel it, say it, because that spirit's leading you. And if there's something that needs to be said, that person might really need it. It might seem small to you, it might seem insignificant to you, but that might have been the word that person needed that day. So we really do encourage and challenge you to live your spiritual life right alongside, step by step, in your business world as well.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think it's part of, hearing the words well done, right? And I felt that same thing as I've gone through different iterations of my business career and working in different settings. And I was always motivated by that passage that Jesus said that when we acknowledge him before men, he will acknowledge us before his Father who's in heaven. And I was really, as a business guy, I didn't think that passage just was for the guy at the preacher at church. I think he meant it for all of us that were in the world, right? That every day we had an opportunity in some small ways to acknowledge Jesus. And the more that we could do that in our lives, the more we would hear well done, or the more that we could have kingdom impact, because we just never would know when we might be able to influence someone else. And man, I'm excited to have you on the mission. I know that you've made the decision and you're currently working with CEOs and business owners, leading CEO retreats, helping them, partnering with them to think about how do they grow their business, but that they can grow it with kingdom impact. Up in the Pennsylvania region, you're leading CXP Pennsylvania. Tell us a little bit about how that became such an important part of you. That, I mean, I know about your personal faith, but now you're taking it out and challenging other business owners to really impart both business principles, but also the biblical side of the business. Why was that so important to you?
Yeah, Ken, it's funny. We talked about earlier knowing the end from the beginning, and one of the things that I've done for quite a long time now is I journal, and it's part of my father-in-law does that, and he's done that forever. And we buy it now. We buy the same journal every year, and it's fun to go back and read what he did and what I've done and things like that. And he's the big guy, so he writes his journal every day, and every time Stephanie, my wife, and I go up there, one of the first things we do is she goes in there and reads the journal and see what happened in the last 3 or 4 or 5 weeks since we've been up there.
Wow.
But saying that, one of the things when we first got married, Stephanie and I in 1995, again, I'm a numbers guy, so I did a lot of accounting, and so we had a budget for our family. And one of the things that I put down, I had a goal that we wanted to get to from a savings perspective, and we said, when we get to that goal, I want to do something that's going to not only impact myself, but have a greater impact on many other businesses. And it was really focused on God, and it was really focused on uh, lead me down that road. And I'll have to share that with you. Exactly what I wrote, and I still have it. And
Wow.
and I signed it. And when this came along, Ken, it was like that. That was the time when it was supposed to happen. I was writing around that 2020 was my goal at that point, and this was, I think we wrote that in 1997 or 1996. I can't remember exactly when that was, but we started keeping track of all of our stuff, and that's what we wanted to build towards. And every month when I put my new monthly statement in there, I would read that, and it just, again, kind of got in me, and it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't one of those things that just wrote down one month and here it was the next month, but 20 some years later, here we are. And I knew that was kind of always my goal, was to work with business owners, and if I could bring my faith into that openly,
Mm.
that would just be icing on top of the cake. And that's exactly what I've been doing. So for the last few years, and we launched our groups here in central Pennsylvania. We had our first meeting, our first retreat day the week before COVID, or the month before COVID. And then our first day that we were scheduled to start was the week after we got shut down. So timing couldn't be better. We made it through. And, so now we have, one group of full of CEOs. And then I have a couple of other groups that are leaders of the companies that we represent. And I have one that I go on site for them. So yeah, I just love working with folks. For me, Ken, when I sit down with somebody, if this is what they need and this is what they want, and they have the ability to, make that commitment, whether it's a half a day or a full day, we do everything we can to make that happen. And I mentioned it earlier, this is 100% mission for me and 100% business for me. So I'm not ever going to get up from the table hearing somebody saying, "Oh, this is exactly what I need," and I say, "Well, this is what we charge every month," and they, "Oh, I can't afford that," and I'm like, "Okay, well, thank you. That's not what we do. I work with you, and again, you made it very easy for us to go out there and kind of fulfill that piece of the mission, where it's not about the dollars and cents. It's about, like you mentioned earlier, hearing, "Well done, good and faithful servant" here.
That's awesome, man. I didn't know you journaled every day. I've always I love to journal too, but I found that journaling is awesome, and it's also awful dangerous.
It is. It is. You go back and you look at what happened and what you've done, but it's so funny to go back and read those things. And I mean, it was, like I said, I was inspired by my father-in-law, and when Steph and I first got married, we were looking back in 1975. He did this, and in 1977, and it's simple things, Ken. It's, I cut the grass today. I went and bought some lottery tickets, whatever it might have been. I went to the Legion, and the Eagles might have won a football game that year. I think there was one or two they won that year, but it's so fun to go back there and look at it, and now, as we're all getting older, we go back and we look at the ones that maybe 20 years ago or 15 years ago, and just his thoughts and just the ideas. He doesn't say a lot, but he sure writes a lot, and it's great to kind of read his words.
Well, it's a legacy, right? And that's what you're talking
Absolutely.
about. You're reading his words. You're looking at what he's writing, what you're writing, and it does just gives you sometimes perspective that you might just write down things in the moment, but as you mentioned earlier, that God has a purpose for that, and sometimes He shows you another component of it, maybe a month later, or a year later, or a couple years later, and but when you write that down, it's just so powerful. That's actually one of the reasons we produce the executive retreat guide every month for the CEOs that we do in our retreats, because I wanted a place not only to have good business acumen or good business thoughts and principles, concepts, and I wanted to definitely have a place to put biblical principles, but I really wanted the guys, to men and women, to be able to have a place to jot down their thoughts, their ideas, their opinions, their concepts that God might be revealing to them in that moment. So, can you tell us a little bit more about the CEO Retreat Day up in Central PA, and what does that look like, and what do you enjoy most about leading those retreats, or what do you hear the guys say about the CEO Retreat Day?
Yeah, Ken. All of my days are very different. They're very much, so we use the guide, and thank you for that. That's for those that don't know, Ken produces a new guide every month. They don't repeat. And when I first met Ken, he said, "Oh, you can write those things. You can." I said, "Ken, no, you can't write. I can't write those things. You can write those things." And it's 40 pages of just great stuff, and it's very well done. And our guide really acts as that extra person around the table, and we use it as a guide. It's not, 1 month we might be on page 3 for 5 minutes. 1 month we might be on page 3 for an hour and 5 minutes. I make it really all about the folks around the table.
That's
And
awesome.
once you get to know them, you get to know how they act to things, how they're going to react to things. You really can plan your day out. And the three groups that I lead right now, they're all three different, and it's really about making it most valuable for their time. I always like to walk away with people saying, I always ask at the end, what could I do more, better, less? Like, how can I serve you? And that's something that they, again, right off the bat, here's what we do. And then in response to that, you act on that. And then when I'm doing my one-on-one time with them, we can dive into that a little bit further as well. But our days, again, they are a little bit varied, but the full day, we're in there from 8 to 3. We have prayer in the morning. We dive into the guide, whatever that topic might be that month, and we work on 12 biblical business principles that are our foundation of CEO experience. And there's a lot of great tools that we use as well. There's a focus wheel. We have win walls, and in the beginning, the win walls, the guys were a little hesitant to write down some of the great things they do. And for those that haven't been to a retreat day, it's like a gigantic post-it. And we write down the great things that we did this month. And it could be anything personal, business, it could be something small. It's 70 degrees out here in Pennsylvania today. I'm going to be able to cut the grass. That could be a win. Too often as business owners and leaders, we tend to focus on the things that we're not doing well, and we remember those. Remember Mrs. Jones that had that one complaint, but we forget the 9,000 people that we did great work for. So it's really an opportunity to capture that. And it could be, again, personal, business, family. And we cheer each other on, and we really support each other, and we encourage each other as far as those wins go. But yeah, so we have the guide, we have a bunch of tools, we have great lunch, and we do a lot of through the biblical business principles, and then we close out in some prayer as well. In between the retreat days, I spend a couple hours with each business owner that I work with, doing some one-on-one time. And again, that the time is theirs. And I really focus in on their business and how best I can help you. Sometimes it's human resources, sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's marketing, sometimes it's, what do I do about this? Or I have an opportunity to buy this other business. So I really become that trusted advisor that can really walk with them and work with them through any issue that comes up. And if I don't know the answer, I'll bring somebody in and help them with the right answers.
Oh, I love it. I love that you had that perspective of, and we have that perspective of how can I serve you, right?
Mhm.
And what can I do better? What can I do more of? What are we doing that's really helping? And I just love that you have that philosophy of putting the CEO and the business owner first. I think that's uh, this is Holy Week, and we're talking about Jesus, obviously, and what he did. The Bible reminds us that our attitude should be like that of Christ Jesus. And that's a tall order for us. Some of us you're probably a little more holier than I am, but the attitude of service, the attitude of how can I, he left heaven to come to earth to die on a cross so that we could be saved. And it was an attitude of putting us first as sinners. He died for us. And boy, that perspective, I just love that that's part of your DNA. I love that it's part of your bloodline, that it's not about getting the CEOs to to use a particular product or making them fit our model. It's really about how do we serve them and what can we offer to them. And I just appreciate that so much about your spirit. So if somebody'd like to attend one of your retreats or would like to get in contact with you, what's the best way that they could kind of find out more or get in touch with you?
Yeah, Ken. I always put our events always on Eventbrite, and if you're on LinkedIn, you can certainly reach out to me through there, or just however you invite me to, or whatever you need to do on that. We put things on Facebook. We have a CEO Experience Pennsylvania Facebook page. I post a lot of things on my own Facebook page. You can always call me, email me, whatever really works best for you. And for me, what I love to do is, I love to come out and meet you again, right where you're at in your business. So we can go grab a cup of coffee, whatever works best for you, and let me understand what you're looking for and learn about your business. That's the first step for me, and then I'll share a little bit about what we do at CEO Experience, and then let's find out if it's a match. A lot of times it's hard to explain what we do because there's not really anything like what we do out there. So when you try to compare something to it, it's like, yeah, that really falls short. So I always just say, Ken, come out to a retreat day. Here's the days we have. Here's the times we have. Here's the locations we have. Come on out, sit in for a day, participate all you want. ask a bunch of questions, and then, let me know what you think. And, and then we'll get together after the retreat day one time. And if it's a good fit for you and the time works for you, and you're able to make that commitment of coming out for a day and having me into your business for a few hours a month, and working with you, then let's keep moving forward. And that's really kind of the long and the short of it. Is I invite everybody, all are welcome. Come on out and see what we do, and then, if you're a good fit for the group, let's see if we can keep moving forward.
I love it. Again, that speaks to that heart of trying to put the business owners first. I think that's a part of every one of our CEO days, CEO retreat days, our private retreats with business owners, whether we're working with them or we're working with their team. We're really there as a way to try to serve them. Even some of the creative ways that we try to do that in our retreat day, the idea around the win wall, right, is as you articulated, that we need a place that we can go and focus on where do we build momentum, and how do we change the perspective and our attitudes, and really appreciate even the small wins. And I always tell people that small wins can become big wins, right? And that whole win wall philosophy came out of the story of Jesus. Just one day where he was coming into a city, and there were some lepers that were standing on the side of the road, and they cried out to Jesus, and they said, and for help. And Jesus says, "What do you want me to do?" And they said they wanted to get well. And Jesus said, "Well, go show yourself into the temple," which was the way that they could show that they were cleansed. And the Bible says that they all ran off to the temple, and one on his way to the temple recognized that he was healed, and he turned around and came back, and he gave praise and thanksgiving to Jesus. And Jesus asked a very powerful question, which was, "Where are the other nine?" And I think as business owners, as you mentioned, it's so easy for us to get inundated with going and solving the next problem, or fixing the issue that we're dealing with, or struggling and crying out to God and asking for God for help. Help me with my team, help me with my finances, my payroll, help me with my vision, my strategy, help me with gaining market share. All these different things that we need help in. And I think God is providing that help to us consistently, and sometimes we just miss it. And so to have a time where we can pause and we can acknowledge those wins in front of others, and then strategize and vision cast about new potential wins, is a way to build momentum. And I just think it's that real perspective of trying to honor God, not only in our businesses, but in our retreats, and trying to develop a habit or muscle where we're giving him praise. And you probably do that a lot in your journaling as well, that you're recognizing things that maybe God's done, answering prayers. So I just love that that's part of the DNA. You're very positive, and you bring that positive perspective. You're analytical as well, but you bring that positive perspective. And I'm sure that the business owners appreciate your positivity when you come into their place of business, and you can help them to see things that maybe they couldn't see on their own.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, Kenny. I always describe myself as not a glass half empty or glass half full. I'm a glass overflowing guy. And that's, I think you kind of take that to that next level. And, again, going back to the faith walk, God owns it all. And he wants us to be successful, and how best, the more that he blesses us with things, the more that we're going to be able to do with things. And, one of the principles we talk about is profits with a purpose. And, understanding that it's not a bad thing as a Christian business owner to make money. It's what do you do with it? And just like anything, it's not, the money's not the bad thing. It's what do you do with it? And if you have a heart that's going to be supportive, and you want to do more. And I have one of our business owners is working to build a school, and one's doing things overseas, and there's so many great things that are going on out there, and you just see God's hand in all of that's happening. And just the relationships that are made also across the table. In the beginning, Ken, you mentioned bringing the right group together. In the beginning, it was, my getting this one together with that one, and this one together with, and now they're just they don't need me. They're going across the table and making their things go on their own without me in the middle of that. And again, that's just such a blessing because it feels like we have the right folks with the right 12 guys, 12 business owners around the table, and it just really feels good.
Hey, I'm going to steal that from you about the guy. They're the guy, not the guy that half empty or glass half empty, half full. You're the glass that's overflowing.
That's right. That's right.
I'm going to tell Shonda that that she married an overflowing glass. That she
Okay.
had some guys that were glass half empty. Maybe
That's right. That's right. That's right.
we can tell. No, but you're right. And God's blessings come to us that way. The Bible says that His blessings come and they are shaken down and overflowing. Right? That they're pressed down
Yeah.
so much so that He can try to put more of those blessings in, and that they're overflowing. And I see so many guys that are out there today, and through COVID, men and women and business owners that have been beaten down. Right? Things have changed, the market's changed, the customer expectations have changed, employees have changed, and it's really a difficult time to lead the business today. But to be able to come to a place where I can hear the wins that are going on with other people, that I can recognize the blessings that God's given to me, and that I can celebrate and rejoice in those wins, it just lifts my spirit. It gives me the belief, and it gives me the faith walk that, man, I can do something of significance here. I can not only just grow a business, but I can grow a business with a purpose. I can have profits with a purpose. I can work to well done. I can invest in my team, and as my team gets better, my organization gets better. And those are just those positive. One of my favorite principles is the principle that we say, believe and ask in the impossible. That Jesus made a statement about a rich guy one time, that the disciples were asking, well, who can be in heaven? And Jesus said, well, what seems impossible with man is possible with God, right? And I say that, we believe when we start to see what God sees in us, right, that all of a sudden we can do things that we never dreamed or imagined that we could do. People have the ability to do the impossible when somebody believes that it's possible. And that somebody, most of the time, is God looking at us saying, hey, I can see you take this business to a different level. I can see you doing work on the mission field. I can see you building that school. I can see you doing all these wonderful things. And man, I need to be around people like that, because it reminds me that God really does have a purpose for my life and for my business. One of the things that I love what you do too is that you really help a business owner develop and grow their team, and helping transfer that not only from the business owner, that belief and that philosophy, but all the way down to some of the team members. Can you tell us a little bit about your Next Level Leader program, and how you do that, and why that was so critical to you as you worked with the business owners?
Yeah, Ken. No, absolutely. And I think, going back to the piece where, you have your aspirational mission and values, and they might be written nicely on the wall, or you have a nice big sign of who you are and what you do and why you do it. And it's really about applying that out day in and day out at every level of your organization. So working with the CEOs, working with those men and women who are the business owners and the business leaders, they're not in all of the stores. They're not around every single day. So you might have this vision, but how is that getting communicated? Again, going back to that, down at the employee level. And by having the Next Level Leader Group, what we work with, or we work with the managers and leaders of the companies that we work with. And they're getting the same guide, they're getting the same messaging. It's a little bit different because it's not from an owner's perspective, it's from a manager or leader's perspective. But then it also opens that door for the CEO to come in or the C-level executive to kind of come in and talk to his management team and his higher team, kind of relate back to them and say, hey, here's what we talked about. How did that land with you? And it really opens the door to a lot of other great communication. One of the things that I do intentionally, again, is after our CEO groups are always first, and then our Next Level Leader groups are always after that, some point in the month. And I'll ask the owner or the CEO, what is it that we talked about today that's very important to your team? Again, going back and being very transparent and opening up to what am I going to do for you? How can I help? How can I impact your company the best way that I can? And they're always great about sharing a couple items, and then we really dive into those things. So again, we work with the guide, but we really focus on some things that are important to that business or that team. And yeah, it's really gone. Again, we talk about next level leader, and in the one group I had, we're working with them about a year now, and there's a couple people that actually graduated from that next level leader, and they brought a couple other folks in. So we're always keeping the group fresh, and we're always keeping the keeping the connectivity there really well. But yeah, we've had some folks that took on more of a senior role, and now every once in a while, when that CEO might be on vacation or something like that, they actually sit in for their CEO at our CEO retreat days.
That's awesome. Well, I think that it's important if we're really going to have impact. I always find it interesting that what the very first thing that Jesus did was he called his disciples,
Mhm.
right? When he entered into his ministry. And if anybody could have do it alone or do it by himself, it was Jesus.
Mhm.
And yet he chose to do it with a group of a team.
Mhm.
And so, one of the principles that we talk about is improve your team to improve your organization. And I love how you're investing in the CEOs and business owners by helping them to develop their team and really helping them to grow, and really not only just grow in business, but really grow in life. I believe, and you believe, that when a person continues to just get better in life, that all of a sudden they're going to fulfill their destiny, and they're going to be great workers, of course, or great employees, but it's going to impact every area of their life. And so I think businesses that really focus on their team are going to be the businesses that win in the marketplace, and they're going to win in the hearts and minds of their people. So well done. You mentioned our book, the book that is kind of the foundation to what we talk about in our CEO retreats. That can be found on Amazon if you look at Well Done. 12 biblical business principles leaders can use to grow their business with kingdom impact. And those are the 12 key principles. Is there a principle that you like the most, or the one that you seem to be tied to, or that you
Yeah,
like to
Ken,
talk about?
I really like how all 12 of them kind of work into our business world. But I think that for me, the golden rule always applies as a great one. And know your order, work your order. I think those two are very profound. And I think by following just those couple, you're really kind of working to well done, as we said it. And I will say too, with the book, Ken, and I'm excited for that one, and I'm more excited as well for the next one that you're going to be writing, and the ones that are kind of come down in the future as well. I give that book to every one of our CEOs, and that's part of their kind of welcome pack, I guess you could kind of say. And they love it. We have guys that are taking it to the beach with them, or on an airplane, or whatever it might be. But they all love it. They read the book, and again, it's just a great way to kind of in just a few hours of reading, to kind of get a really good idea of foundationally what we stand for at CEO Experience.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you can go on our website at www.ceoexperience.com, or as you mentioned, you can Google CEO Retreats, CXP CEO Retreats in the Central Pennsylvania, Philadelphia region, and find out a little bit more. Jason is on LinkedIn and Facebook and all the social media sites. And I'll also put a link on the in the comments on this video when we post it. So, hey, Jason, I appreciate you. I appreciate who you are as a brother in Christ. I appreciate who you are as a leader, as a CEO, as a business owner. So it's my honor to work with you. But thank you for being on our CEO conversation today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Ken. Be blessed and have a great afternoon.
All right, thank you.